Hey guys, what is up? Tominator here. So in this one I wanted to talk about the 2018 Vancouver Pro that took place last weekend. Now Lucas Osladil was your champion, and as you can probably tell by the title, I'm not necessarily in agreement with the judges on this one because I don't think that they're taking the sport in a favorable direction when they reward physiques like this. So don't get me wrong, this is not a personal attack on Lucas Osladil. I don't know this guy. I've never watched any videos on him, so I don't know anything about the dude. I'm just judging him purely on his physique here, okay? And, it has to be said that he does have a lot of things going in his favor, of course. I mean, number one, that outstanding world-class conditioning. It seems like every time this guy steps foot on stage, he's just shredded to the bone. So that's become kind of his trademark. And in addition, he's also got a lot of thick and dense muscularity on that frame. So he's definitely packing a lot of mass. There's no doubt about that. As we can see here in the hands class most muscular, this is a very strong pose for the guy, and there's not really too much I can pick apart on him here. I mean, the pecs look nice and full. The shoulders are big and round. Same with the arms. Even the legs are on point, and he's got calves. So, I mean, what more can you ask for, right? Now, obviously the biggest complaint is, of course, the midsection, which, it has to be said, is god-awful. I mean, these are some of the worst abdominals I've ever seen on a professional bodybuilder, bar none, because this whole upper shelf here looks weird, and now he's got a big gap here, and it's asymmetrical. It's just a mess. So that's easily his worst body part, but other than that, I mean, it's a pretty good pose for the guy, and he also looks really good in the crab variation, which we'll see a little later when we get into the comparisons. Now, I have a problem with the guy my biggest gripe personally is his posing style, his presentation, the way that he displays his physique. Because as we see, when he turns around, just the way that he kind of pushes his butt out like that to emphasize the glutes, I don't think it's necessary, and I don't think it's a good look, man. I don't think it's very professional. I think that a lot of this guy's posing style, like the things that he does, it's very effeminate, and it's unprofessional, and it's almost like disgraceful to the art of bodybuilding, if you ask me. I mean, it's not just this, but when he's doing his side chest, he kind of does this weird twerking thing with his glutes. Not to mention that ballerina move where he holds his foot over his head in his posing routine and kind of twirls around or something. I don't know. It's just weird. I think it's very effeminate, and I don't think it's good for the sport. I don't think that the judges should be rewarding that kind of thing. So that's number one. But also, just in terms of his balance, his proportions, his structure and everything, you can tell it's a little off. Like his glutes, while they are massive and very deeply striated, they're overdeveloped. They're too big, man, and it doesn't help that he's pushing it out like that. Same with these adductor muscles. Like it doesn't look right. This should not be the focal point, especially when you hit a back double bicep. You shouldn't be like focusing on the butt and the hamstrings. It's just weird. It's backwards, man. If you ask me, I think that we should be paying more attention to the V-taper, to the back, to the roundness of the shoulders and the arms and everything. That should be where your eyes are drawn to, not to the guy's butt. This isn't a glute contest, or is it? I don't know. I don't know what the judges are thinking half the time anymore. Because in my eyes, this guy should have been your rightful winner. I think that Alexis Rivera here, while he wasn't quite as shredded as Lucas, while he wasn't as big, he was overall less flawed, okay? Because he had much more pleasing lines, better shape, better balance and proportions, and overall his aesthetics were just miles ahead. So even though he wasn't quite as shredded, I mean, it's not like he was out of shape. Look at all these striations in his quads here. Look at the upper body. Look at the separations of the traps, the shoulders, the pecs, and everything. He clearly was well defined, and I think that he was just so much better in all those other attributes I just listed that's why I think he should have won, because I think he was the more balanced bodybuilder, and he had less flaws than Osladil. I mean, look at the midsection. It's just miles ahead of what Lucas showed us. And I think that this is the type of physique that most of us would aspire to actually look like, way more so than Lucas. Now, if there's anybody out there who would rather look like Lucas Osladil than Alexis Rivera, let me know in the comments, but I don't think there's too many people that would make that claim. So at the end of the day, shouldn't that be what bodybuilding shows are judged on? Or at least shouldn't that be the ultimate underlying factor in the judge's decision? Isn't that what Arnold made his big statement about a couple of years ago when he was saying, you need to think about whose body would you actually want to have? Like, what are we doing with bodybuilding here, man? Are we just rewarding the guys that are the most muscular and the most dry and shredded? Is this just really a glutes contest now? Is that what it's devolved to? Because if that's what it is, then this is nothing more than a freak show. There's no art form to it anymore. There's no aesthetics. There's no reasonable reason that normal people would ever want to watch this stuff, because it's just a freak show. Anyway, Here's another case in point about why conditioning alone should not win shows. Now, granted, Josh Wade here was in third. He didn't win, but still, that's way too high of a placing for a physique like this. This guy's just so flawed in so many ways. I mean, look at the arms. They're just deficient. They're way too small for his body. The midsection, bloated, blocky, wide. Not good enough. No flow, no aesthetics whatsoever. Look at the arms here. They're clearly underdeveloped compared to the rest of his body. I mean, this guy's got like that old man type of physique, that old man muscle. Look at this most muscular. This is abysmal. This might very well be the worst, most muscular I've ever seen on any bodybuilder in a top callout, period. Okay? So again, I'm not knocking him as a person. I don't know anything about Josh Wade. I've never watched any videos on him. Again, I'm just judging these guys purely on their physiques, and I'm giving my honest impressions, my unfiltered, no BS, no political correctness impressions here. And that's what it is. It's what we're all thinking, I think. I mean, these arms are like string beans, man. Like no triceps, no biceps, just completely getting overpowered by these shoulders. The waist is way too wide. The legs are kind of overpowering the whole upper body for that matter. It's just all out of whack. Who in their right mind would rather look like this guy than fourth place finisher Ian Valliere? I mean, what the hell were the judges thinking? Like, how could he place behind Josh Wade? Look at these two. And just, I think anybody with a functioning set of eyes could take 2 seconds and immediately tell you that Ian Valliere is the better bodybuilder and should have placed higher, right? Like, is it just me? Am I crazy? You guys let me know in the comments, but I think the judges are fucking crazy. I don't know what they're thinking here when they decided to give Josh Wade the nod over Ian Valliere. I mean, if anything, this guy should have been vying for the title with Alexis Rivera, you know? So I think he kind of got screwed in a sense. I mean, it's not like he was out of shape either. Look at this glute ham tie-in downstairs. It's like, I think that even Osladil would be hard-pressed to beat this. So this guy was ripped. He was peeled. And he had a much better structure than Josh Wade, that's for sure. Look at the nice V taper here in the rear lat spread. Now, to be fair, I think they all had pretty good rear lat spreads, and we'll see that in a second when they get into the mandatory comparisons. But it was kind of a pose that they all were surprisingly strong in. And in this most muscular here, it's like he's channeling the late Dallas McCarver almost in terms of these boulder deltoids, the big arms, the same with the quads with the nice sweep, and the too narrow chest in this hands class most muscular. That's why I say it really reminds me of Dallas McCarver in this one, minus the calves, of course. He's not on that level. But anyway, let's get into some comparisons now. So as you can tell, it was pretty dark. I'm not sure if the stage lights were really that dark or if it's just a product of these actual pictures or whatever filter or, lack of exposure, lack of flash. I'm no photographer, guys, but you can tell it's too dark and we're missing some details. Like these guys' lats are kind of being hidden in shadow, and we'll see that we're going to miss some of the finer details on their physiques as we go through these comparisons. But unfortunately, this is the best I have to work with. These pictures were taken from the NPC website, so these are like the official photos that they take of every contest. And, so this is about as good as it's going to get, unfortunately, for this one. So, let's go through some. Front double bicep. Now, back to what I was saying about not really liking Lucas Osladil's posing style, and that holds true for this one as well. The way he's hitting this front double bicep, it looks awkward. It looks off. I know he's maybe trying to do the tilt to be artistic, or perhaps in a strategy to avoid, to hide asymmetries, perhaps. Maybe that's why, but it looks weird. It looks like, sometimes when these guys are jockeying for position and they're bumping elbows and they don't have space to hit the pose properly, that's what this looks like is happening, but clearly that's not the case. I mean, he has room, but he's just choosing to do this deliberately, and it looks weird. So I think Alexis Rivera is clearly the best structurally in this pose out of anybody in terms of his shape and everything. Ian Valliere looks pretty good as well. And this guy over here, Ronaldo Gary, who was fifth, again, behind Josh Wade somehow. Riddle me that. I don't know. I think he actually looks a little bit similar to Paul Dillette almost through the arms, through the delts, through the pecs. He's just got some massive upper body parts. So we'll see that as they go through some other poses. So in the side chest, we don't even get a look at the front lat spread. Or maybe I skipped it because I probably just skipped it because they were all hidden in shadow like they were in the front relaxed. But in the side chest, this guy looks like a beast again. And I don't know how the hell he didn't place ahead of Wade. Sorry, let me back it up. Look at the legs too. Like he's killing this pose. I actually would have him perhaps as the winner. Ian Valliere's vying for that as well. Again, best lower body of the group, I think. Look Lucas Osladil looks solid. Don't get me wrong. I think he's filling it out great. His lower body's really good with that deep split in the hamstrings and the quads. But shoot, sorry guys, keep accidentally clicking my mouse. But through the pecs, they leave a little bit to be desired, and the waist looks too big. It looks too not blocky, but bloated. I mean, he needs to suck it in more. Look at Valier, how much tighter he looks, how much thinner this is through the waistline. And over here, now you guys might think I'm crazy when I say this, but I actually think that this guy is a little bit similar to Kevin Levrone in the side chest, just in terms of the roundness and the thickness through the pecs, the shoulder, the triceps, just this whole kind of structure and look in this one. Now, he's not as good as Levrone was, but still, he's got a little bit of like that appeal, I think. So another one of the side chest where I think Valieri looks probably the best now that he's opened up a little bit more. He looks massive through the upper body, and he's still got the best lower body of the group. Even Josh Wade looks better in it, but I still think he's last. And in the back double bicep, they all looked pretty good, I have to say. Even Josh Wade. Fortunately, Ian Valier's back's kind of hidden in shadow. We don't see any details there, and you can tell that Alexis Rivera is not packing as much muscle on his body, in his back especially, compared to these other guys. So that's one area that he comes up short, and I do think he kind of suffers in this pose because he just doesn't have the same level of mass as the rest of the field. This guy's got beastly traps. He's got an amazing back. We'll see that in 1 sec when we get into the rear lat spread. And Osladil's pretty solid, I gotta say. I'm not gonna say he's bad in the back double. I just don't like how the glutes are overshadowing the pose for him. So look at Ronaldo Gary in this one. Look at these lats. Look how massive and thick that back looks. So, like, holy crap. This is almost shades of, like, Joel Stubbs, man. Like, seriously. I actually thought that, like, this was the outline of his back for a second because it's so dark that's just his arm. So his lats are actually more like this. But still, really good stuff. He might even be taking this pose. Osladil looks solid. Wade's a little bit, he looks a little soft, surprisingly. Valier looks good. Rivera's back suddenly looks massive as well, so I don't know if it's just catching the light or he's at the perfect angle, but he looks huge compared to how he did in the back double. So I don't know, take your pick on this one, guys. I actually like these two guys on the outside the most out of anybody right now. In the ab and thigh, this was a hard one to get because none of them were really hitting it at the same time, but we can immediately tell that Osladil is just easily the worst of the bunch in terms of the abdominals, at least in terms of the shape, and just genetically he's not good there. Then again, Ronaldo Gary, I'm not sure if he's like, that they took it at a bad moment for him, but his midsection looks very faded, very cloudy. We're not seeing any definition really, so that's unfortunate. Josh Wade looks surprisingly good considering how blocky his waist is. I actually like him better than Osladil. And Ian Valier doing a little bit of a vacuum, it looks like. And Alexis Rivera showing off a lot of serratus and obliques and stuff. Looks pretty good. In the most muscular, again, Gary looks like a friggin' beast over here. Holy crap. Again, very similar to Dillette, I think, in terms of just the mass through the pecs and the shoulders and the arms. Freakish. Josh Wade, by comparison, is a joke. I mean, if you want a like night and day comparison right here of how a most muscular should look, what a good one is compared to a crap one, this is it right here. This is the contrast here is just crazy. Lucas Osladil looks really good, as I was saying. I think it's one of his strongest poses. His pecs look really good. He looks very balanced in this one compared to some of his others. And then, holy crap, look at the shoulders on Valier over here. I really think these two should have been the top two. And then one more for you guys, where Rivera's hitting the crab now, and I think he's kind of stealing it over Osladil. Not by much. I think Osladil's got him beat in the pecs, but that's it. I think Rivera's better everywhere else. He's got a little more roundness and a little more pop to his muscles. And likewise pretty close. But anyway, this guy, it almost looks a little asymmetrical though. Like this delt looks bigger than this one. So that's, he's got a little bit of flaws still to work on. Perhaps these are structural things that he can't fix, or it could just be the way he's hitting the pose. But I really think that he should have definitely placed ahead of Josh Wade. So that's my take on this one, guys. Sorry for the rant. I was a little bit rambling because it just frustrates me when the judges seem to get tunnel vision and go all in on conditioning, because I think that the sport is a lot more than just shredded muscle, and it should be, because this is how you end up with horrible, terrible outcomes like Dorian Yates, a worn-out, chewed-up 1997 Dorian Yates with no arms winning the Olympia, and Branch Warren placing really high in his last couple of shows where he had no business doing so because he had, again, just torn up muscles and terrible asymmetries going on, and the judges just can't get over this guy's hard and vascular and well defined, so he's got to place high. It's bad for the sport. So anyway, thanks for watching, everybody. Let me know your thoughts in the comments below, and until next time, I'm the Tominator signing off, and I'll be back.